Welcome back inside this special edition of the Fast Lane. Trey Lyle here with you. I am joined with AJ Black from Sports Illustrated and the BC Bulletin. And AJ, let's jump right into it between matchups of old school Big East rivals turned, common opponents every year in the ACC. A Friday night matchup up in Chestnut Hills. First key to this matchup: Boston College offensively losing Phil Djokovic obviously was huge for them. And over the last couple of games, their offense has sort of struggled. Where have you seen kind of the decline in the Eagles' offense?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think the big issue right now is it's got to be the play of the quarterback. They've gone with Dennis Grosel for 3.5 games. He has struggled to throw the ball long and to really be able to take the top off defenses, and that's been a big issue for BC because once defenses know that everything is going to be short and intermediate, and with some runs thrown in there, they're just keying in on that and really taking away a lot of their weapons. But on top of that, it's not just the quarterback. It's a multifaceted problem for BC. Their offensive line, which gets a lot of praise, has really underperformed this year. There's been some real struggles, especially at the left tackle. That was usually played by Tyler Vrabel, son of NFL coach Mike Vrabel. He's been hurt a bunch this year, and they've replaced him, and his replacement had a miserable game last week against Syracuse. They're going to have to figure something out there, and I think they're going to have to move some guys around and shift Zion Johnson, who's an All-American guard, over to tackle to shore up that position because it's so important. I think that kind of all combined has really made BC's offense stagnate.
Well, the good news is Virginia Tech offensively hasn't looked the best either. It has improved somewhat over the last 2 weeks, but I mean, this is, you could argue that these teams are very similar, both at 4-4 teams, despite the 0-4 conference record for BC, teams, but kind of different narratives around them because you have kind of this hot, I don't want to say hot commodity in a coach in Phil Heffley, but definitely a coach on the rise compared to Justin Fuente, who was kind of that hot hire and now is kind of really one of maybe the hottest coach in terms of a hot seat in the country.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a different feel for BC this year. Losing 4 games in a row. The fans are starting to get a little restless, even though, you talk to them and say, hey, when you go into a season with a quarterback with that much potential as Phil Djokovic and you lose him, that's a big loss for a school. And, to talk about the program going in the wrong direction, I think it's a little exaggerated at this point because I've heard some fans say things like that. But I definitely think they've moved on from quarterback, so it won't be Dennis Grosel. It's going to be Emmett Moorhead on Friday. They haven't announced it, but all signs point to that. He's a 6'5" freshman originally from California, but he went to school in Episcopal, Virginia last year. He played a little bit in the Syracuse game, has a cannon for an arm, but he's young. He's only started 10 games, both in high school and college. So his learning curve is going to be pretty steep.
AJ, moving, BC's defense has been pretty solid, only allowing 346 yards this season, which is pretty solid given the struggles of their offense. And this is a Virginia Tech offense that, you could argue the last 2 weeks have been an anomaly given how struggling they've been. But this is definitely a very opportunistic time for this BC defense that could take advantage of a very inconsistent Virginia Tech offense.
Yeah, the defense has played pretty well. And if you look at the games, I think there's a running theme going on here. So BC against Syracuse, they didn't allow a single point in the first half. NC State, they were down by 3 points. I think they let up 1 touchdown, and it was on a fluky touchdown pass. And against Louisville, they were right there too. What ends up happening with the defense is they play well, but because the offense can't stay on the field, they get worn down. And so what we've seen in the 3 out of the last 4 games is BC completely imploding in the third quarter because I think the defenses just get tired. They're on the field way too much and they're not getting a chance to breathe. So if Boston College's offense can figure out a way to stay on the field, I think, running the ball a little bit more will help and get some bigger plays and really get their third down offense back on track. I think that'll help the defense, and the defense could play better for 4 quarters. But it all goes back to that offense. Once the offense is struggling, it seems like everything on the team kind of falls apart.
And for Virginia Tech, offensively, the last 2 weeks, they've had emerging a star in Malachi Thompson, who's run for over 100 yards in both games. Trey Turner had one of his biggest games of the year last week. So there's definitely some points to build on. But on the other side, BC's offense, against a Tech defense, BC's kind of turned back to its old school kind of motto of running the ball more. But Zay Flowers has had like 700 big games against Virginia Tech. It feels like he's been very dynamic against the Hokies. Do you expect, trying to use him more because this has been successful for BC against Virginia Tech?
Yeah, I mean, they're going to try to get him the ball, and that's a big thing for them. They've taught Jeff Hafley at all his press conferences. It seems like every week is saying that the offense needs to figure out ways to get him the ball more. Now they tried with Brosell to get the ball short and intermediate, but when defenses are cheating up and safeties can kind of cheat and play closer, Zay Flowers is not going to be able to take a 2-yard run and run it for 30 yards like he used to, because the defense is just collapsing on him. And Brosell wasn't able to get him the ball deep. You talk to Boston College fans, you watch the film, it seemed 2 to 3 times a game, Zay Flowers was wide open by 3 to 4 yards, and Brosell couldn't hit him because Brosell doesn't have the arm to do it. So that's been a big issue. You can see the frustration in Flowers because he's just not getting the ball. And it's not the play calling because he's open. It's just the quarterback can't get him the ball. Now, I think they're going to try with Moorhead, if he's the quarterback, and I'll say I think he will be, that I think they're going to try to get the longer ball because Moorhead has better touch than Brosell. And that's a big key, because if Boston College can hit a few of those, not only are they going to get some big explosives out of it, but it's going to open up their offense. It's going to open it up so that they can do the short stuff, that they can run the ball. So Zay Flowers and his success will be a major key in this game.
And finally, talking about Brosell, another thing, he has more interceptions than he does touchdowns. Turnovers have been kind of an issue for Boston College. Do you expect them to be cut down with the freshman quarterback in? I know, Virginia Tech has a really good secondary. Jermaine Waller leading, now actually tied for second in interceptions. This is definitely an opportunistic secondary.
Yeah, Moorhead didn't make any bad throws against Syracuse, I would say. He didn't throw any balls where you just held your breath because it was like a jump pass. That was much more Grosell's thing. Grosell had a bunch of passes where you just watch and go, what is he throwing to? And there should have been 3 or 4 more interceptions added on that against Missouri. There was a few, there's issues there. Moorhead, I expect it. He's a true freshman. And as I said, he doesn't have a ton of experience. If Fuente can confuse him, if that defense can confuse him, he's going to make mistakes. What I expect more out of Moorhead is what I saw against Syracuse, which is a young quarterback who struggled to make reads past his first read. And then when he felt the pressure coming in on him, he would turtle. He'd kind of fall down and take a sack. So I think that's more likely what you're going to see is more like him not being able to quickly adjust on a read and taking a sack, which is almost as good, statistically as big as a turnover. So I think you might see more of that out of Virginia Tech on Friday.
Well, one more question. The spread in this game, Hokies favored by 3 points over under the measly 47.5. So expecting not a lot of points in this one on Friday night in Chestnut Hill. What are your expectations? Are you leaning one way in this one?
Oh yeah. So if you check out I have a prediction post up on bcbulletin.com. I just actually put it up right before this interview. I picked Virginia Tech to win handily in this game. I'm struggling to see where Boston College is going to get this offense going. I think they're continuing to struggle. And to me, it's prove me until I see what you're going to do to fix it. And they haven't been able to do that yet. So, they could fix it. But if I was a betting man, I would bet on Virginia Tech because I feel like the odds of Virginia Tech being able to score in BC's offense more than BC's offense being able to score in Virginia Tech's defense is much greater. So I have Virginia Tech winning 24-10. I'd hammer the under on that. That seems real high.
Well, AJ, you talked about it. How can some fans connect with you, learn more about BC? Obviously, basketball season around the corner as well. So how can they learn more from you and the folks at BC Bulletin, part of SI?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. You can check me out on Twitter at AJBlack_BC. You can follow my site. It's BC Bulletin. It's Bulletin BC on Twitter. I'm on Facebook. I'm also the host of Locked On Boston College, a podcast talking about BC sports every single day. We've had some great conversations about Virginia Tech this week. If you want to check out this week's podcast, it's wherever you get your podcasts. And yeah, that's basically it. Thank you for having me on.
Well, AJ, thank you for joining me this week and hopping on, and I appreciate that. And as always, you can connect with me at Trey Lyle VT or at Fastlane Italy on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Thank you so much for listening to this special edition of the Fast Lane.